A sleazy lawyer experiences a crisis of conscience when he's forced to defend his friend's murderer on today's Miami Vice. One Way Ticket was written and directed by Craig Bulletin in his only venture into Miami Vice as either a writer or director, though he went on to write several feature films, including Ridley Scott's Black Rain. Crockett and Tubbs attend the wedding of the daughter of a popular district attorney. At the reception, where series composer Jan Hammer has a fleeting cameo as a musician, the DA and two young bridesmaids are murdered by an assassin named Segot, played by Canadian actor Lothaire Bluteau, known for Black Robe and Jesus of Montreal. The DA had been applying a lot of pressure to a French-Canadian crime lord named Jean Fabre, so Vice's attention turns to Fabre's known associates, who include Segot. At a nightclub where Mr. Mister's hit single Kyrie plays, Switek and Zito arrest Segot on drug possession charges and bring him in to see if he's connected to the DA's murder. At Vice headquarters, Segot meets with his attorney, Lawrence Thurmond, who is a close friend of the slain DA. Thurmond is also a chief nemesis to Crockett due to his propensity for defending high-profile and very, very guilty criminals like Jean Fabre. Thurmond is played by the late John Hurd, a popular film and television actor perhaps best known for playing Kevin McAllister's dad in the Home Alone films. Segot, who is cold and unrepentant, is clearly guilty in the murders of the DA and the bridesmaids. Due to his friendship with the murdered DA, Thurmond is conflicted about representing Segot. He expresses his concerns to Jean Fabre, who is played by Jean-Pierre Matt, and who is not especially sympathetic to Thurmond's inopportune burst of moral conscience. A troubled Thurmond flies his private plane around while an angry Crockett hits the shooting range to work out some aggressions in a montage scored to Pete Townshend's 1985 solo hit Face the Face. To the strains of Mustang Sally by Wilson Pickett, Crockett gets his Ferrari serviced by his mechanic Tommy, who is played by Annie Golden, Norma Romano on Orange is the New Black. While at Tommy's repair shop, Crockett gets an anonymous call on his car phone from someone who claims to have knowledge that Segot murdered the DA. Operating on this tip, Crockett and Tubbs interrogate one of Segot's known acquaintances, a man named Marcel. Marcel is uncooperative, and later on he's murdered in the shower by Segot. Jean Fabre is feeling a little anxious about all this drama surrounding the DA's murder, so he orders Segot to lie low for a while. While Segot prepares to leave the country, Thurmond takes another flight in his private jet, which crashes into the ocean. Crockett receives yet another anonymous call. The caller tells him where he can find the gun Segot used in the hit. Upon locating the murder weapon, Vice arrests Segot as he's trying to leave the country. Crockett and Tubbs pay another visit to Tommy the mechanic, who has recently serviced Thurmond's car. She gives them a package Thurmond left for Crockett before his fatal flight, which contains all his files on the inner workings of Jean Fabre's criminal empire. Suspecting Thurmond placed the anonymous calls and is thus still alive, Crockett and Tubbs pay a visit to his estranged wife, Alicia, who tells them all about Thurmond's favorite retreat, the island Rum Cay in the Bahamas. Crockett and Tubbs head to Rum Cay and find a guilt-ridden Thurmond there, having faked his death to start a new life away from the criminals he used to represent. Instead of bringing him back to Miami to testify against Fabre, Crockett decides to leave him in place and let the world continue to think he's dead. This is a pretty sluggish episode, and honestly, it's a bit of a chore to get through it, simply because the pacing is so slow. It has a couple of strengths. There's something intriguing about this gaggle of French-Canadian scoundrels using Miami as their base of operations, and I genuinely like the character of Segot, the cold, crazy assassin with the wild hair and the even wilder fashion sense. But apart from that, man, this episode is dull, and there's really not much to the plot. Having a simple plot can work very well for Miami Vice episodes that have strong enough visuals to take the place of a fully fleshed-out plot, but not in this case. There's just simply not much to the story. Attorneys who represent sleazebag clients and feel guilty about it are a pretty common motif in cop shows, and this episode isn't bringing anything new to that idea. So I'm going to give this one 2 flamingos. Next week, Tubbs will befriend a teenage sex worker who has a side hustle as a serial killer. It ends poorly for pretty much everyone. Until then, I would love it if you'd subscribe to my channel if you feel so inclined, and I'll meet you back here later. Have a great week.